Hey everybody, we're gonna talk about Swiss meringue buttercream today, particularly about storing it and then thawing it after it's been stored. Because I don't know about you, but when I first started working with Swiss meringue buttercream, probably about 9 or so years ago, I would whip up a fresh batch and it would be perfectly smooth and silky to use on my cakes. I would inevitably have a little bit left over. I would try to store it in my fridge or my freezer that I could use it the next time, and then I'd pull it out of my fridge or freezer, and when I try to bring it back to life and use it again, I could never quite get it right. I'd usually end up with a curdled, separated mess, and it would kind of break my heart because I would end up throwing it away. Let's talk a little bit about temperature and how it affects Swiss meringue and how we can work with that to our benefit, okay? All right, so first things first, can you store your Swiss meringue buttercream longer than just daily use? Of course, absolutely. You have several options, okay? You can store your Swiss meringue at room temperature for, I would say, no more than 1 to 2 days, preferably 1 even. It does have a significant amount of sugar in it, so it is considered to be pretty shelf stable, okay? But if you don't get to it that next day, then what are you gonna do? Well, what you're gonna do is you're gonna store it in your fridge. In your fridge, in either an airtight container, or actually my preference is to store it in some zip top bag with the air compressed out of them. And you can store them nice and flat. You're gonna label them, you're gonna date them. I love this method. That can be in your fridge for up to 2 weeks. Now, any longer than that, what are you gonna do? You're gonna pop this airtight container or your Ziploc bag, you're gonna put that into the freezer for 2 to 3 months. So lots of ways you can store Swiss meringue. We got lots of eggs, lots of butter in that recipe. We don't wanna waste a thing. We wanna make sure that we're able to use that again. So any Swiss meringue buttercream, you're gonna store that overnight in room temperature, in your fridge, or in your freezer, and you're gonna use that again, okay? That much I did figure out. I realized I could store it, but the problem that I was running into was when I took it out of my fridge or I took it out of my freezer, I was having a problem bringing it back to that texture that we love about Swiss meringue buttercream, that really silky, smooth texture, right? Here what I have is Swiss meringue buttercream that has been stored at room temperature for overnight, okay? Less than even 24 hours, but overnight. You can see that it's still soft. I'm seeing a tiny bit of separation, okay? A little bit of separation. I can see some like beads of moisture that I don't love. I see lots of air bubbles trapped in there, some sponginess that I don't love. And I even see some color differentiation. It starts to look like more of that yellowy butter color, okay? It's not ready to go, in my opinion, okay? So what are you gonna do? You're gonna re-whip this. If we're lucky enough, this room temperature Swiss meringue buttercream with just re-whipping will be back to exactly where it needs to be, okay? So once you have all your buttercream, I add it all into my stand mixer. I go right to the whip attachment, and you can re-whip this bad boy on, let's say, medium high for a couple minutes, okay? We'll see how long it's gonna take. Don't forget to scrape down your bowl. Between, we want to make sure that we are mixing all of that buttercream, that whisk can get to all of that Swiss meringue to get it back to right where it needs to be. We'll go one more time. All right, everybody, I took the Swiss meringue out of the mixer after mixing on medium high for a couple minutes and scraping down the bowl. And what I have now is this paler, nice, pretty cream color, super silky, smooth, okay? Lots of those air bubbles and that sponginess has been worked out of the buttercream. And this is ready to go. This is ready to be spread on your cake. This is ready to be piped. It's a really beautiful consistency, and that's what we want. So for room temperature Swiss meringue buttercream, generally a re-whip for a couple minutes on medium high will do the trick. You're gonna be ready to go. It brought it right back to where it needed to be, okay? All right, now what do you do if you have buttercream that's been in the fridge and you wanna use that? If you're not in a time crunch, then of course you can leave your refrigerated Swiss meringue buttercream out overnight to help it get to room temp and then re-whip like we just showed. But let's say you're in a bit of a time crunch. Well, you have a couple options. So first thing I want you to notice is this refrigerated Swiss meringue buttercream is pretty firm, right? And if you think about it, there is a lot of butter in Swiss meringue buttercream, and so it behaves very similar to how butter behaves, right? If butter is out overnight, of course it gets nice and soft. if it's been in the fridge, it's quite firm. Now we have a very firm Swiss meringue buttercream. Could try to put it in here and re-whip, but potentially what's gonna happen is it will separate and curdle, okay? What we're going to do is scoop this hard buttercream into our mixing bowl, and we are gonna go for more rapid reheating method, okay? We're gonna use a double boiler method, okay? And so you wanna make sure that the bottom of your pot is not sitting in the water. I've already given this a little test and I'm low, but I'm not touching. What's gonna happen is we're gonna start to heat some of that buttercream that's on the outer edges of the bowl. You'll start to see a little melting along the edges. Now we don't wanna melt this down completely, so you wanna keep an eye on it. You wanna see a little melting on the outer edges. That's gonna increase the overall temperature of the Swiss meringue buttercream. And once we get a little bit of that melting, a little bit of that reheating, a little temperature increase, we will move this stand mixing bowl into our stand mixer, and then what do? To bring that texture back, we re-mix, okay? Another method that you can use that's very similar to this gentle reheat would be to use a kitchen torch if you have it. While you're mixing, you can actually reheat the bowl with your flame while it's mixing in. That is essentially the same method because we're melting that outer edge of the buttercream and then slowly increasing the overall temperature, okay? I do have some melted buttercream that I can see that's pooling on the bottom here. I'm ready to try. You know, there is a potential that we might, whenever reheating buttercream, that you might get that curdling and separation, but I'll show you what to do if that happens. So we're gonna mix again, medium-high for a couple minutes until we see that texture that we're looking for. Okay, so that came together really nicely and we are ready to work with our refrigerated batch of Swiss meringue buttercream. Oh, look at that. That's gorgeous. That beautiful, silky smooth. It's nice and pale in color again. That firmness is gone. It is ready to go. I love this. Now we have buttercream that is right out of the freezer. We are in a rush. We have no time to leave it out overnight, no time for a double boiler. What do we do to get this buttercream to a consistency where we can get it on our cake and do that quick, okay? Take a peek at this. I mean, this stuff is hard, okay? But I'm gonna take this, which clearly we cannot spread on our cake without tearing. I'm gonna put this into the mixer and I'm gonna show you what happens, okay? Oh boy. Okay, so what happened here, okay? Let me show you what we have going on here, and it is nothing good. Broken up, chunky, curdly looking Swiss meringue buttercream starting to separate, okay? And it would separate even more if I would let it continue going on. But this is nothing that I can work with, okay? And in fact, this is what used to happen 9 years ago when I would take this buttercream and say, oh, I've wrecked my buttercream, and I would throw it in the garbage, okay? You do not need to throw it in the garbage at this point. It just needs a little bit of love, okay? You can get this curdling and separation with buttercream that has been left out overnight, with buttercream that has been refrigerated as well, okay? So if this curdling and separation happens at any point when you're trying to re-whip or reheat your Swiss meringue buttercream, then this is what you're gonna do. We are going to get that right into a microwave safe container. Yes, I said microwave because we're gonna let that microwave be our friend right now and help us increase the temperature of this buttercream and save it, right? Doesn't look like it's salvageable, but it sure is, okay? So what we're gonna do, we're gonna get this in our microwave. Remember, the trick with Swiss meringue is a gentle heating, okay? Now, microwave can be a little bit aggressive. We're gonna put it in there for 5, maximum 10-second intervals and take it out and mix, okay? Until we feel that it's softened enough that we can re-whip, all right? So here we go. All right, that was about 7 seconds. We're gonna do this gently, okay? And I'm gonna give it a little mix. And I can see that really didn't make very much of a difference. Back in it goes. Another few seconds there. And now I can see that we're starting to get warm. It's still quite separated, but I can feel that I can move this around and there's less chunks in here. The color is pretty dark. It's still not looking great. We're gonna get it back in there, okay? See what that did for us? Okay, Now we're talking, okay? Now we're talking. So what you can see here is this is a lot more fluid than it was when I originally put it in here, but we still have a very separated mixture, very separated. I can see a liquid kind of trying to seep out there. White, yellow, not really what I'm looking for, but I know that at this point where it's pretty soft, now what I need to do is bring back that volume, bring back that fluffiness, and it's gonna be the mixer that's gonna do the rest of the work for me, okay? So I'm gonna put this still curdled but soft mixture into the mixing bowl, okay? Here we go. We're gonna get that back on medium high. Okay, everybody, just like that, we've got a Swiss meringue buttercream out of the freezer that is this really nice consistency again, ready to be spread onto your cake, ready to be piped on top of your cupcakes, whatever you need it for. And you saw it really didn't take more than 20 seconds in the microwave and a few minutes to re-whip, okay? So if you need your buttercream, your Swiss meringue buttercream reheated and ready to use in a pinch, don't be afraid to use that microwave, okay? I hope that helped. I hope you enjoyed this video, and we will bake together soon.